Late Night Health continues with our buddy Karen Howard. She's been on the show before. We've met her at association meetings, and in fact, all right, here's the truth. I crashed a party a few months ago in Orange County, California, and I saw Karen Howard there. Karen is the CEO of the Organic and Natural Health Association. Karen, welcome back to Late Night Health.
Thank you very much, Mark.
A couple of weeks ago, I think now, the DARK Act, what we call the DARK Act, was signed by President Obama. While I don't know all the ins and outs of the act, I do know that one of the major caveats or portions of this act is that we don't need national GMO labeling. Am I getting that correct?
You know, it's an interesting, I would say, yes, that's definitely the tenor of the bill. But proponents of the legislation and now law will tell you very differently that this is actually the first mandatory labeling law of the country. Much broader in scope than in Vermont. That is how they position this law to be now. I would differ with that considerably, because there is actually no mandatory labeling component. It's actually that you have a choice. Yes, you are free to continue to label if you have been, but the reality is that if you're not so inclined to be transparent in your ingredient list, you have the ability to put a QR code on your packaging, and that will suffice. So someone then has to have the phone and the app.
As you pointed out in your recent article, from Dark Act to Disappearing Act, that just came out a few days ago in the Whole Foods magazine, not many people use QR codes, even in our technologically driven society.
Yeah, it's considered old technology. I mean, the only time I ever see a QR code used consistently and effectively is at an airport when I go to get on a plane.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect. Yeah, throw out your iPhone or Android and walk on the plane.
Yep. But how many people, especially you're in the grocery store, you're after work, you're tired, you got 4 kids, 3 kids, whatever, you're walking down the aisle, you're going to pull out your phone, open the app. Oh, I forgot to download the app. Then you're going to shoot it off at this little square, come back and read it. Oh, by the way, it's not one place where all these QR codes reside, so you're going to have every manufacturer with a different app and website. So the ability to actually garner useful information it's nonsensical. And you don't see Congress passing legislation for any other nutrient or educational, consumer-driven notifications to be in a QR code. I mean, do you think that they will allow companies like whatever food manufacturing company to put a QR code on the packaging instead of the nutrition label? I don't think so.
And we hope so.
Correct.
We hope so. Let's take a look at what you have been advocating, other organizations have been advocating, and I've been advocating here on the show, is that if something is genetically modified, like a tomato, there should be a sticker on that tomato. There already is. There's a barcode label on that tomato so that the cashier can ring it up and know that it's organic, not organic, it's a yellow tomato, it's an heirloom, whatever it might be. Why can't we have something that says GMO? A lot of the organic growers do stick a label on saying part of the GMO project, verified.
Yeah, if you look around, there are 64 countries in the world who label GMO. And I think we are certainly the only country that has decided to turn back the clock and take labeling off. There's one standard line that says if Vermont were allowed to proceed, then we'd have I've seen it everywhere. We'd have a patchwork of different laws across the country, and then there would be all these different labeling requirements, and consumers would have increased costs. Well, labeling is labeling, QR code or not, it's changing your label. So that a cost argument is, again, nonsensical. And whether you have a fear of GMOs in a healthcare setting, or if you're worried about pesticides, or if you think that GMOs are completely healthy to eat, it's just disclosure and transparency, which is really what is driving the market in every arena these days in terms of supplements, food. I mean, even Southwest Airlines has come up with an ad of transparency. I mean, this is, while it is a buzzword of the day, it is rooted in good science and data about what consumers want from relationships with corporations of all kinds.
But at the same time, if somebody wants to eat a genetically modified vegetable or cow or fish or whatever it might be, they have the right to do that, right?
Sure, absolutely.
If they want to do
Absolutely.
it. I don't know why they would want to do it. Yeah.
I don't either. But the reality is that this is just about being clear. And if the advocates of GMO who believe that this is the way to solve the world's food problems are so proud of their technology and what they can do, then they should be able to put it on a package, and we should all live with that. I think it's a horrible disappointment that the legislation passed. I think it was sellout. This patchwork concept is ridiculous because all the surrounding states that were keyed up to go with the implementation of Vermont had carefully collaborated around like language so that the laws were similar, the enforcements were more tailored to what the states could and wanted to do around enforcement. This bill doesn't even have an enforcement provision. So that's what makes it even more meaningless for consumers. One, it's impossible to find the information that they're looking for. And two, if the company violates the rules, there's absolutely no enforcement provision in this law.
Which is very similar to how people in general feel about labeling of supplements, as we've talked about before. We know that if it says vitamin C on that label, it is federally required for vitamin C to be in that capsule or that product in the amount stated on the label. And there are enforcement issues, people involved in doing that, but at the same time, there may not be enough. I mean, we all want good manufacturing. Not every manufacturer of vitamins, just like every manufacturer of, I'm just trying to think, paper, may not live up to the same quality standards of another paper producer.
Right.
Right? I mean, there are good guys
right.
and there are bad guys, good girls and bad girls, just to be, totally, and I don't know how to do that any other way. But I guess my point is that having a law in Vermont and then in California and then in Nevada and Arizona would be confusing. But if they all got together and said, let's just do this, it would have been so simple, so easy.
Well, yeah, because basically the federal government these days doesn't like to do its job. And the reality is all of those state initiatives have been collaborative and would have continued to be collaborative because it's in the interest of business and commerce in every state to do so. So it would work against the state to have these disparate provisions in law. So that was just a really, you didn't hear, you don't see anybody trying to go in and override California's Prop 65.
Right.
Doesn't seem to be any problem there. So it's really about, and it's like anything else in the world, especially when it comes to politics, it's about who has the biggest money stick.
The biggest bankroll.
The biggest bankroll, yeah.
Bottom line
that.
are GMOs are, intellectually, they appeal to me. I mean, more crops, more, hardier crops, all of that. Intellectually, it appeals to me. What doesn't appeal to me is we don't know what it's going to do to people. We know that some people are already sensitive to them. They get ill. We just don't have the studies about how GMOs affect the human body.
Agreed.
Right? And I
agree.
Yeah. I mean, I think the idea sounds good.
And that is my personal perception. But, and as we say, everybody has a right to consume what I'm not going to go advocate for Pop-Tarts to be taken off the shelves. I don't consider them to be food, but at all. They don't
right.
fall into the definition of food. And there's, 75% of what's on our grocery store shelves probably fits that definition of not being food. But that isn't really the issue. The issue is consumers' ability to make those choices as informed as they possibly can be. And that is that transparency and people are looking for quality products. I mean, look at all the recalls that we have and all the problems with salmonella and everything else. So people are very heightened about their food selections now. They're very particular about where they shop. So at the end of the day, what Congress did won't make one bit of difference, in my belief, because consumers are going to drive this train, and they've already made it very clear what it is they want.
But Karen, at the same time, will this kind of law make more people, more companies, more money, making it easier on them to sneak GMOs into our food supply? Oh,
most definitely. If that, the definition of whether it's make more money or not is an interesting one, because it will allow people, once again, seriously, Mark, I grew up on Capitol Hill, started when I was 23, and I've never seen a piece of legislation quite this poorly written. So there are no definitions. There's small businesses, and all of these things that go into standard boilerplate language when you run this by the bill writers is missing. So the holes and the gaps for that to happen are enormous. And you don't see the supplement industry crying out for, greater transparency, because in terms of what percentage has to be GMO or not GMO to qualify, that's a completely unwritten piece that'll have to be fought out in the regulatory process. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of ingredients in dietary supplements that are GMO. And nobody's rushing to disclose that they have GMO ingredients in the supplement world.
And that would include things like ascorbic acid, sweeteners, sucralose. What others?
Oh, well, you've got soy lecithin is a big one.
I understand almost all soy now is GMO. It's terrible.
Oh, yes. Virtually. I mean, if you're not buying organic soy, you can be 100% certain that it's GMO. So you got maltodextrin, which is a filler in so many of the supplements that we all love and use. And there are options there. There are definitely options for people to be able to manufacture without that.
And you say
so the non-GMO project is going to continue to be a highly visible entity in itself, because
right.
What kind of standards are you going to use? And that's really where we're going at this point is, this is done. It's over. You can't ever take something like this back without a major healthcare crisis to back you up, I'm sure. And so, what do you do next? And our position is let's go champion for the more improved organic standard and teach people what all of these terminologies mean, how to look for products and ingredients that do or do not have GMO in it, and identify the really good players as stores and products that you want to buy.
And we're going to take a time out, and when we come back, one of the things I want to talk about, of course, is our how do you know if it's really organic? I mean, that's it's a good question. We here in Ventura County, where we produce our show, we're all agricultural here. We're a big agricultural area. Anyway, Karen Howard from the Organic and Natural Health Association comes back as Late Night Health moves forward. Join us at latenighthealth.com.
The experts at Web.com want to build your business a successful website for free, just like we did for these current Web.com customers.
We've looked at other website designers. There's nobody better than Web.com.
Web.com can build your website in as little as 7 days free. Plus, we'll promote it on all the major search engines. If after 30 days you're happy, we'll continue to provide promotion, hosting, support, and maintenance, all for one low monthly fee. If not, cancel and pay nothing.
If you're in business and you don't have a web presence, you won't be taken seriously.
Call right now and you'll also get a free .com or .net domain name for your new website, powered by VeriSign, the world's leading domain name provider.
No upfront charge for site build, after which ongoing fees apply. Rights to site are relinquished when canceled. Domain included during active service, after which fees apply.
800-489-8751. 800-489-8751. 800-489-8751. That's 800-489-8751. Attention users of the blood-thinning drug Xarelto. If you took the drug Xarelto and experienced complications such as cerebral hemorrhage, gastrointestinal bleeding or other internal bleeding, or if a loved one has died after taking Xarelto, you may be eligible to get a cash award for your suffering. Call the Xarelto Help Hotline now at 1-800-264-3150. That's 800-264-3150. To qualify for a cash settlement, you must file a claim before the deadline, so don't miss your opportunity for a cash settlement. Call 800-264-3150 now for a free, no-obligation consultation. Our call center is open 24/7. So if you took the drug Xarelto and experienced cerebral hemorrhage, gastrointestinal bleeding, or other internal bleeding, or if a loved one has died after taking Xarelto, call the Xarelto Help Hotline now at 800-264-3150. 800-264-3150. That's 800-264-3150.